my sexy Dexter fans, and welcome to my third official review of Dexter's 8th season. So tonight I'm going to be breaking down for you all just what exactly is eating Dexter Morgan, okay? And I'm gonna warn you guys right now, spoiler alert, as per usual, I will bear all in this review, so go no further if you have not already been through the insanity that is this episode, okay? You know, it was a very short episode actually. It ended around like, you know, I watched it at 9 when it aired live on the West Coast, and so it ended around 9:50. And I was really shocked because I kept watching the clock like after that critical explosion of an end scene, okay? And I was like, okay, seriously, how much further can they go with this? Like, what is, how is the climax not here yet? But then it turned out it was, and I was like, okay, good. This will give my soul enough time to, like, you know, digest what exactly just got like freaking propelled into my system against my will. Well, I mean, I guess it's my will to watch the show, but did I ask for this kind of pain? I mean, you know, Dexter says in the episode that, like, Deb sent him on such an emotional roller coaster that, you know, going to a crime scene feels normal and it attaches him back to reality. That's like the only, or not reality so much as stability, because this is the new normal for him. But, you know, and I just kept thinking, like, honey, you don't even know the roller coaster that the rest of the millions of people around the world who are watching you are on, so bear that in mind. You are far from alone in this situation, and I wish you knew that, being that you are currently tied up in the whole Vogel situation, okay? But, you know, it was short and dense and pithy and fantastic. I laughed, I cried. I mean, I cried hard. And I freaked out laughing at the whole, you know, I knew kind of what was going to happen in the whole scene in the interrogation room, but not exactly the way that it went through, which is why, you know, I was okay with figuring out what I did, because I saw a promo picture of Dexter picking Deborah up off the floor and that whole situation, and I theorized with a lot of other people out there that, you know, Dexter was gonna N99 Deb, you know, she was gonna try and burst out and tell the truth. I had no idea that she was even going to so much as utter anything before Dexter and Vogel show up. You know, I had no idea that it was just gonna be Quinn trying to subdue her. It was so ridiculously tense, and God, the emotions that Jennifer Carpenter portrays, and the way that she so uniquely portrayed her devastation is just off the charts, because we've seen Deborah broken, but this was a whole new level and new low that I didn't know that, you know, Jennifer could penetrate through the depths to, and she freaking did, like a deep sea diver, just going for that diamond performance of holy shit, just how is this even happening? And I mean, I could just feel myself like puckering in and just breaking and bending inward that entire time. She's like a sad little child, you know. We've seen this kind of childlike sadness in Dexter, like in the last episode, as he's realizing that he's destroyed Deb, and, you know, Vogel's trying to tell him, you're perfect, and you know, we see the way his face just kind of breaks, and he just sort of like sits there and lets himself be held, and we kind of see that mirrored in Deborah in this scene, and it was so wildly powerful. I am still blown freaking backwards. I don't even know. Jennifer Carpenter cannot be human, because how? And at the same time, that was, her performances are so incredibly humanizing, and just, I can't deal with it. I can't. So let me do my best to walk you all in a semi-logical manner through this episode. So, I did know actually that we were due for the performance of a cannibal in this episode, so I was really exciting, you know, kind of following the mystery, the murder mysteries and the crime scenes, and just trying to figure out who's it gonna be. You know, being that, you know, cannibalism is in right now. It is in style as far as murderous, dark television drama, psychological craziness things go. So, you know, I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. Clearly this guy is not going to be Hannibal Lecter, but you know, like I'm listening. Okay, I can deal with this. And you know, I'd read an interview earlier on when I was looking at all the spoiler craziness and how Michael C. Hall was saying that Dexter's reaction to the cannibal was very enjoyable, and that it was, you know, it's like he goes, it was so interesting, you know, he goes into the guy's house, it's like, whatever, you know, he's kind of a jock type, things are here, things are there, you go into the kitchen, and it's this beautiful, pristine place, and I was like, okay, you know, I see we're paying tribute to the master up north, and then of course he goes to the crock pot, and I was like, oh god, oh no, this is gonna be heinous. This is going to be preposterous. I just knew it. I was sitting there like, and it was like the freaking Wendy's chili with the finger in it. And I was like, come on, dress it up a little bit. We know you can do better. We know you can do better. I mean, freaking Hannibal, he's, you know, he's an extremely resourceful guy. He's very much an artisan when it comes to crafting the human form into very delectable looking dishes. I mean, it's like, I guess for this guy, I guess it's more of a personal thing for him. You know, he's not like bringing people over for dinner. So, I mean, I guess it's fair, like, sure, just leave the fingers in there, like, no need to dress it up. It's not like you're having lavish dinner parties, but still, you know, I was like, oh, come on. But the whole, you know, Dexter kind of vetting the guy and figuring him out, going to the mall and trying out the exercise equipment. The guy was so creepy. You know, it was a very, like, campy performance, kind of, I mean, not that it's in any way, like, truly or directly reminiscent of Anthony Hopkins' performance of Hannibal in the earlier films, but I mean, you know, just, there was this sort of, the guy just had this, he was tweaking. I mean, his whole interaction with Dexter was very intriguing. You know, we could see that there was a certain tension there, of course, and like as Dexter's trying out the exercise machine and, you know, getting cut and whatever else, and like the guy's like, yeah, are you feeling it? And it's like, I feel it, you know, I'm feeling something. But yeah, that whole process was really entertaining to watch, you know, being that I'm an enormous Hannibal fan. Hannibal, if you will. So for those of you who watch Hannibal, or if you don't and you just know who Hannibal is, what do you think of the show's portrayal of a cannibal villain? And I think it was interesting. It was very interestingly pulled off. I laughed a lot. It gave me a lot of joy in kind of a sick way. I mean, I just like, I'm clearly insane. I go from like tears to gut busting, guffawing, and like, you know, it's 0 to 60. And then I'm going, you know, I'm going 90 in the 65, so it's just like, not that that is supposed to make any sense to any of you guys. I really don't have any way of explaining my emotions. They're just there, making themselves known, and I can't really do that to you, so I apologize. Anyways, so the kill scene at the very end, where Dexter says, you know, that he previously couldn't have ever imagined someone being like this guy, etc., etc. And it was such a fascinating scene because we see him, he's got the like the meat tenderizer, and he's like pounding it against his hand, and that's sort of symbolic of, you know, what the cannibal guy does in the process of preparing people for his people meals, and, you know. But it's also, you know, he's reflecting on how he's like the cannibal in that he consumes everyone he loves, and he says that, and it's extremely powerful. Also, not to mention, you know, the so we see, you know, of course, Dexter doesn't slice the cheek anymore. That ain't his thing now. Something that he gave up in the process of trying to reconcile with Deborah last season. And then furthermore, the guy's mouth is duct taped shut. So I mean, I guess we don't really know where he is. You know, necessity may require him to, you know, keep the guy quiet. But I thought that was a really interesting choice in the way that Dexter prepares for the kills, and and everything, but overall it was incredibly symbolic of how the guilt that Dexter is feeling about what he's done to Deborah, and a very consistent theme throughout this episode was Dexter's sense of love for Deborah, and then Vogel constantly trying to break that apart and analyze it and twist it into something it's not, because he's not a psychopath, but we'll get to that later. At any rate, so yeah, it was incredibly profound. I really love the way they brought that full circle. Let me first jump back to the very beginning of the episode where Dexter wakes up to like, Daddy, Daddy. We see like the blood on the floor, and then we see his son, like, you know, his legs in the bathroom, and that was just evil. That was incredibly rude. I will not stand for that kind of trauma ever again. Do you understand? You know, I was kind of thinking it was a dream, you know, but still, that was just freaking mean. Don't even go there with me. Don't even go there. Not cool. I was already expecting to be traumatized enough, and that was just, you know, icing on the cake. So we get a little bit of Harrison action, you know, he's there, and I think it's important for us to be reminded of Dexter as father, and then, you know, it's like, it's easy to resolve Harrison's issue of the stomach ache from freaking, you know, engorging himself on popsicles, whereas the situation with Deborah is far from straightforward. And of course, you know, we see that Dexter is pursuing Deborah, and luckily he's enabled to do so further by Quinn, you know, letting him know what's going on as Deborah's trying to keep away from Dexter and keep it all under wraps. You know, she's trying to encapsulate herself in this, you know, everything is a hellhole to her now, you know. She even says that of the lovely little restaurant that her and Dexter go to, because she's in the place with the one person who made her compromise everything, and it's just, you know, she is just swarming herself with every possible pain she can. At the same time, you know, trying to drown it away with alcohol. But, yeah, so what was I saying exactly? Yeah, the whole Quinn, Dexter, Deborah dynamic was very rich in this episode, and I'm really enjoying the direction that the writers are taking with Quinn, in that they are actually like giving him a purpose and a reason for us as the audience to care about him and what happens to him. You know, it's not just about like the whole Batista's, you know, trying to get him into the sergeant position, yada yada, and then there's Jamie, and she's kind of Jamie's sort of been rubbing me the wrong way lately. I'm just sort of like, okay, you clearly don't get it, and you know, Quinn's not really good at explaining himself per se, but it's just like, come on, you know, it's like, yes, they used to date, and you know, in many ways I do think that Deborah is the love of Quinn's life, and so it's like, I can see why that's going on for her, but it's just like, we as the audience know the place that Deborah's in, and so we're desperate for somebody to freaking help her. I mean, you know, for those of you who watch Hannibal, it's kind of like, somebody please help Will Graham, somebody please help Deborah Morgan, someone help these two precious beings. Okay, so, you know, so I'm really appreciating the way that Quinn and Deborah have been having these really meaningful, intense scenes, and, you know, Quinn trying to understand just what's going on with her, and her drunken state kind of serves as a filter and a barrier against her exposing everything, but that desire to be truthful still pervades everything in just such a crazy way. The whole, okay, interesting thing when Dexter finds Deborah at Elway's office area, you know, where she's working now, and he finally, you know, backs her into a corner and gets her to go to dinner with him. And what he said something that was extremely similar to what he said to Hannah McKay when he was stalking her in season 7 and like episode 6, Do the Wrong Thing. You know, it is like, I'm not gonna go away until you go out with me. Like, it was that kind of thing, and I was like, that is some delightful irony there. Stroke my imaginary beard over that one. But yeah, so that was really funny to me. And then just the way that Dexter arranges the whole dinner scene that they have, you know, we can see that Deborah is just repulsed. She does not want to be there or have anything to do with this or let herself find any joy or peace in the situation. She is clearly uncomfortable. And then Dexter freaking has, you know, the video of that kill. Was that from season 5 or season 6? I feel like it might have been season 6, but I'm a little bit fuzzy in that department. I haven't seen either of those seasons in a long time. But you know, we all remember that scene and how that went down, and Deborah coming out as a hero. You know, the video was like going all over the place, and there was all this drama. And then how he shows, you know, the guy who Deborah saves at the restaurant, and I was just blown away. My heart just melt. It was all, you know, down my front side and on the carpet, you know, by the end of that scene. It was just like, God, you were such a sweetheart. Like, it was so intentional on his part, because the way that Dexter is trying to save her is by showing her that she is a good person. Look, you saved an innocent life. You may have taken this life, but think of all the lives you've saved. And that's what Dexter's trying to show to her, that, you know, she wouldn't have killed LaGuardia in any other circumstance. It was the last thing that she wanted. In fact, I believe that Dexter didn't even think he was gonna get out of that alive. But that was just, it was so incredible. And the way that, you know, Dexter reaches out, you know, it's the first time that they've actually touched one another in a loving sort of way, you know, aside from Deborah like pushing him off, and it was just, you know, he takes her hand, says, you are a good person, does good things, and that's the first time where we see Deborah's own mask fall off. You know, if we're looking at the Dexter-Deborah crossover parallels, so to speak, you know, the ways in which Deborah looks like Dexter in some ways. You know, Dexter's always been about the masking, and Deborah's had her own mask of sorts, one that she's, you know, trying to like get to take root inside of her, so to speak. This mask of hardness and pain that, you know, does reflect where she really is, but we see that mask slip, and we see the vulnerable side of her that desires to be loved, and that remembers, you know, what Dexter has always done for her in her life. It's that the quote from, I believe, season 4, where she's like, you know, you've given me confidence and support, like you've been the one constantly good thing in my life. You know, I was kind of reminded of that in just seeing the expression on her face, and it was good freaking Lord. Jennifer Carpenter, I will take you out to ice cream. Wherever you freaking want to go, we will go and get lots of desserts, and I will just cherish the crap out of you, because I am so freaking in awe of just how she did in this episode. And yeah, gosh, and let me talk a little bit about Miss Vogel, okay? She is driving me crazy, and I'll tell you what, that scene where, you know, Deborah is like throwing herself at the door and she is ready to confess everything, you know, at some point she's gonna sober up and in her right mind try to deliver this full confession. And the scene where, you know, Dexter grabs her and just M99s her right in the neck, and Vogel's like, that was interesting. And I just busted up laughing. I like fell on the floor. I don't know what happened, but it was just like, that is, of course that's what she would say. Like, and that whole car ride that her and Dexter had on their way to Miami Metro, where she's like, you know, clearly the reason why you're freaking out is because, you know, if she goes down, she's gonna take you with, and, you know, it's all about you when it's all said and done. And Dexter's like, freaking, can you just stop, because this is my sister, I love her, you don't get it, and I'm not gonna give up on her. And it's just like, please? I also did a lot of like Z-snapping during this episode. I don't really remember at what parts, but I just did that a lot. Like, I don't know, I was just feeling really sassy, and everything was just intense, and people were just like knocking it out performance-wise, everything that's going on, and I was just like, what? It was just incredibly entertaining on this episode, just on every level, like in terms of, it's the high highs and the low lows. I was everywhere, and I love that about this episode, you know. In the previews for next week, okay, wow, what is going on with my vocal cords? I'm just not sure. I'm really sorry for those of you who are listening right now. It'd be weird if you're watching this and not listening, perverts. But yeah, no, anyways, what was I even gonna say? The previews for next week, holy Neptune, what is going on? You know, it's like we all knew that Vogel was trouble when she walked in. You know, T-Swift knew it too. But just to see how far that she's going to go with Deborah, I thought that she might actually like try to genuinely restore Deborah to Dexter as a means of making sure that she stays, you know, in good faith terms with Dexter, but things are getting a little bit messy. You know, we see that she's taking notes on Dexter, and Dexter freaks the crap out on her. He's ready to, you know, obliterate her influence from his life. This is only like almost kind of sort of getting close to mid-season. I didn't see that coming, to be honest. And then we see the car crash. A lot of us know what that's about, and I am just freaking out on so many kinds of levels, ready to see just how that all unfolds. But by all means, everyone, please leave your comments about that, about this episode, and also, you know, check out my written review on Dexter Daily. That'll be there. And furthermore, you can also go to, I have a link to flowdiscuss.com. They have a Dexter forum there, one for this episode as well. So if you want to like leave some other thoughts there and, you know, interact with some other people, you know, just kind of get your thoughts on this craziness out in the universe, that's a good place to do so. So links below. I think I kind of sort of touched on everything, and for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter, I do live tweeting for every Dexter episode, so you should definitely check that out because I made a lot of little observations that like I didn't have the chance to talk about in this vlog. So I hope that you guys will go there and just, you know, look at the weird things that I tweet and the gibberish and occasionally, you know, some enlightening quotes or whatever. But thank you guys so much for watching and bearing through this with me. So Dexter, does he consume everyone he loves? Is Vogel trying to consume him? You know, what is her endgame? What is the freaking deal? Is she or is she not the murderous creature whom she is sending Dexter on the prowl for? And, you know, there's just so much to talk about this on so many levels. So thank you guys for hanging in there with me through all the madness, and I will be back before you guys knew it. Take care, y'all, and I'll be replying to comments as soon as I can. You guys have just been flooding my videos with love and support and thoughts, and I do my best to keep up with them, but alas, I am just one person. So thank you all for being so amazing and just inundating me with your delightfulness. I can't get enough. You guys are wonderful. So peace out, and yeah, I'll be back real soon. Take care.